Welcome to Your Soul Wisdom, hosted by Yana Amor Manocas. In each episode, we invite you on a transformative journey delving into the profound mysteries and wisdom of the soul. Join us as we explore a wide array of spiritual topics and sacred practices that nurture and heal the soul, from reincarnation and soul contracts to the enigmatic experiences of womb alchemy and astral travel. Our discussions are designed to enlighten, inspire, and deepen your understanding of your own soul's journey. With Your Soul Wisdom, nothing is off limits. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Your Soul Wisdom. And this one is actually very impromptu. We had something completely different lined up. And through conversation, we decided and discovered that boundaries is a really huge topic. Boundaries is something that many of us struggle with, whether it's overstepping boundaries or setting boundaries. And I think it's a really important conversation to have, especially in the energetic space, right? Because you can't see, well, some of us like Kylie, right? You can see, right? But most of us don't necessarily see the energy that's trying to come in or disrupt us or anything. So it's really important to physically set boundaries, but also energetically set boundaries. So where do we even want to begin with that?
I'm happy to share a little bit of how we got started on that conversation. I will try to not. So I'm currently working with the client. I will try not to out them.
Is it me?
You're pretty clear. You're pretty clear. No, so we had originally going to do a rods episode, and I didn't feel like I could do it because I'm dealing with a client who has some darker energy and I'm being affected by it. And I didn't want that to come through the rods and start affecting people. So, as a professional, demon slayer, this was one of those things where it's like, because that's what we do, right? I'm a professional. I need to start writing that on my what business are you in? Professional
demon slayer.
On your senses.
That's right.
Professional and certified.
That's right. That is certified by the Kylie University of bullshit. So it's hard to admit that I'm having a demon situation that is rattling me, right? So I'm talking it out like, what do I don't know what to do. I have to, might have to finish up with this client because I have reached something that I'm unable to really help her with. And that's a really hard pill to swallow, right? So it's boundaries of, do I suck it up and just try to do this regardless of consequences on my body, my health, my energy, or, they paid for a service. In this case, that's a whole different boundary because there is a lack of payment in a certain thing. And we'll talk about that in the second part. But, it's like, at what point as a practitioner do we go, I can't help someone. This is not worth me going through. And I know deep down that, it could be ego in play, right? I know deep down I want to send this demon back to the hell realm. I really do. But at what cost? It's even not mine to carry, right? And this person is aware and has boundaries in place for herself through another practitioner that has kept it at bay. But it's one of those bubbles that can't really penetrate through the bubble, but things can't leave the bubble. So we're trying to give her protection. But at the same time, the demon has realized that I have the capabilities of disintegrating this bubble and sending them off on their merry way. And they are digging their teeth in to not go. So, so that was that conversation about what is the boundary with that? I don't want to sell my soul to this. So, I'd love to hear everyone else's opinion on times when they've had to activate that
Well,
boundary?
a couple of things come to me with this because there are a few aspects to it. So one is I have no doubt Kylie could do what she needs to do to get rid of it. But as she said, at what cost? What is it worth? But then also, so that's that there may be an egoic part that comes in of like, I should be able to do this. I'm very good at whatever. Then there is also the aspect, this sense of responsibility, perhaps that we feel as people who help people and people with the ability to help people. And I think that goes back eons of, it's like the healer wound as well. So I just wanted to bring those couple of aspects in for everyone to to think about in their responses. But personally for me, boundaries is definitely a huge area that I still need improvement on. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah. And
So
for
nice
me,
ones.
what you were saying can be easily relatable into the sort of 3D world. But I also think there is something in between the sort of, other than the ego. And I struggle sometimes when I come up with difficult situations. I'm not talking about demons and energies, that's something, whatever. But I also get confused whether this is an opportunity for me to grow and that it's not a boundary issue, it's a fear issue or something like that. And then sometimes it's very difficult for me to discern that kind of thing, of whether it's something that I should push through.
There's a fine line. How do you?
So, there's so much thing. And, of course, you're not conscious of this stuff. So it's not like you're even thinking about it in the moment.
Yeah, I think that's kind of probably then more based on the situation that comes up. If it's a situation in a sense for growth, in the sense of, because there's many different ways that you can grow. And I suppose one of the situations that it does highlight is what we were saying, is boundaries. There are certain situations whereby, in doing this work, it doesn't come down to growing it doesn't come down to growing in terms of fear. It comes down to, like, say for me, I like to be a nice guy, so I like people to like me.
Do you have
I
12
do.
threes?
Yeah, I do.
I know.
I realize that's a thing with 12 threes.
They seek other people's approval.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've got millions. Okay.
Yeah. And so for me, it's a case of, I find it hard to sort of stop somebody where they're at if I think that they're crossing boundaries or taking the mick. Now, if that comes down to my husband or my children, it's a whole different ball game.
Sure.
Because I can see boundaries, squares all around, bricks, walls, the whole works. Don't cross the crap. Yeah. But with me, it's a bit different. And so I have had those times where people do and can cross those boundaries because they push it a little bit and they push it and then they push it and they push it, you know. But having said that, it's not just people that can cross boundaries. Anything can really cross your boundaries. People, beings, spirits, whatever, they can do all of that, because I would guess that as a medium, without boundaries, they turn up everywhere. They'll turn up in the shower. I think we've had this conversation before. They turn up in the shower, they turn up in your bedroom at night. They you know what I mean, they're sat on your bed, you know what I mean, waiting to have a conversation with you when you wake up, because you're seeing Peter later on. And I've come to talk to you about Peter. So I suppose there are boundaries in many different ways. I think, there are also boundaries in sense of, and it's also, boundaries can also come down to your worth, how you feel about yourself and about your own self-worth and your own value of self. And that can also come when you're doing this kind of work as well. That can also come out to play as well. So it's a really kind of it's a very emotive kind of subject, I think, that we're talking about, because it begs the question, I think, like what you were saying, Rachel, that I think you have to look at quite a few different things, not just the one, I guess. What the making of it is. So what is the making of a boundary? Oh, that's a good question. I did ask.
Mm.
Shall I answer it? I don't have the answer.
Well, perhaps sometimes it's easier to sort of work backwards, okay, because it is very emotive. So what tends to happen is when you perhaps someone is crossing a boundary that you kind of didn't know that even you had, but then you have a response of anger or resentment or all of those sorts of things. So
Yeah.
perhaps, are those responses are informing you as to, hey, this is pressing up against what should be a stronger boundary. So perhaps it is more, as you move through life that they come up. And it's almost through that lived experience you have them, unless you have been role modeled good boundaries. And that can be very much impacted also by essentially your upbringing as well, because there's different forms of attachment and our needs to be liked, so to speak, and that comes from a survival place when you talk about children and perhaps developmental trauma and things that have come in. So it's multifaceted. It can go back a really long way. It can go through, I feel like, all of your incarnations, because like I said, there is the whole, the healer thing. Like a lot of my treatments with one of the healers that I have seen have been around my sense of responsibility of like I can do it. I need to do it. That's how can I not do it? So I lost where we started, but I guess pay attention to your responses to things that happen in your environment. And if you are being, you're having a response like anger or resentment, that is showing you where the work is to be done.
And also this triggers, you can't talk about boundaries without also speaking of your throat chakra. People who have excellent boundaries can express it, and you have no misconception about where you can step and where you can move. My issue, right? I can talk all day long. I've got the gift of gab. I can have conversations with anybody and find, how many times have I talked to you ladies and it's like 4 hours later? The point is, while I'm so easily and open in my communication.
You're a good communicator.
Totally. When I feel like I am about to say something and putting up a boundary that can hurt you, upset you, trigger you, it backs me up, and it takes me a minute to get there to be able to say it. And then I see someone like my sister, the second with her eyes, you're not crossing any boundary. And if you dare cross that boundary, you're going to see what you're going to get. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, how can you say that to people? But then I think to myself, I need more of that, because like in Kylie's case, we work with people all day long, right? And there is also that balance, that boundary of, are you my client or are we social acquaintances, right? Because once your session is over, it's very easy to engage with clients afterwards. And so there is that fine line, right? It takes me back to that shaman conversation. They walk this fine line, but then it's also very much like, how do you verbalize it? Again, we're going back to the questions. How do you verbalize it? It's a me issue. I have to, I'm not being a jerk, but I need to say it in a way that's going to serve me. And you're going to get the point. I don't have to be an asshole about it, but I have to verbalize it. So I know the issue and the lesson, Rachel, is within me. Why can't I just say it?
Look, again, when we were talking about doing an episode on boundaries now, we were saying that all 5 of us have excellent boundaries in some ways, not in the same ways, and, gets pretty loosey-goosey at the other end of the range. I mean, I know for myself, I have no trouble saying no to events. Like, I won't go to an event if I only know the host. Like, I've just been to too many of those events. I'm in my mid-50s. I cannot be bothered with that. I will just say no at the time, no matter what it is. And the way the way I think about it is, I love it. It's going to be awkward. But it's awkward then. It's going to be more awkward if I don't say no then. And I think that I don't want to go. And I eventually say no 4 weeks later. That just means I felt shit for 4 weeks. And it's still the same awkward conversation, that kind of thing. So I just prefer to sort of rip it off like a Band-Aid. That was a prelude to my point, which of course has now vanished from my mind. So,
While you think of it,
anyway,
I
sorry.
just do want to say one thing, because often when people are working on boundaries, then they sort of step into this, right, I'm going to put up my boundaries, like, and this is my boundary and this is my boundary. And they can be a little bit, they sort of go the opposite end of the spectrum, right? So there is a balance to be found about how those boundaries are expressed that are both honoring your energy, but also loving in a way that is not slapping someone in the face.
I have
So
to share a
it's
really
just-
quick story about that, which is
Okay.
I just realized I've got three daughters, and my two oldest, they're like 15 months apart, and they've got the same friends in the neighborhood. So yesterday, one, it's a very long story and I'll try to make it short. One came home and is like, the friend I was playing with wants to know where my sister is. And the sister's like, I'm not playing with her. Ew, no. And then, but the other sister's like, yeah, but if you don't play with her, she's not going to play with me. And then I looked at the one sister, the younger sister, and I'm like, is that really the caliber of people you want in your life? And then she went quiet. My oldest one is like, just block her. And I'm like, okay, we're not going to do that either, because she doesn't know why you're blocking her and why suddenly you're not getting back to her. And that's going to come back on this sister. And then the other sister is like, yes, but I don't have anyone else to play with today. Just block her. And I'm like, oh my God, why is there two extreme ends of this? Right. But the thing is, at the end of the day, sometimes it's good to kind of bounce this off of people, because there is an element of coming across a little bit harsh. And the other one is rubbing up against the worth, right? So now we're like talking it out, verbalize, let's practice this. But this is such an important thing at a young age, because I look back and I'm like, no one was there to kind of referee me. I was torching bridges everywhere I went, because I felt like that was the way to handle things. You know, I come across a little bit like that, I do admit. But, you know, it's just great. It was a really great eye-opener to see that. And I do want to lead in with a question. When it comes to client work, I'm just going to bring it back to client work, because I'm sure many of the people on here can resonate with being a practitioner or going to a practitioner. Is there a dollar amount that would make you cross a boundary? Is there not even a dollar amount? Is there a sweetener that would make you cross the boundary? I will work with you if I give you contact with, I don't know, James Van der Praag. I'll throw $10,000 at you if you can do this. Like, would you have any give of that boundary?
No, because my energy is the most important thing to me. And that could never make me cross a boundary, for the simple reason that if that is a piece of work that will take me out, that will burn my circuits, that will burn me up, I'm good for nothing else. And so it was something that I was going to say just before you you spoke, that that I had to get to a point where, as a practitioner, it came down to valuing my energy and my time. And I had to have a really good chat with myself, a really good chat with myself. And then, put on my big girl knickers and go and do what I had to do. And, write the email or the message that I had to write in order to set up the boundaries that I felt were being crossed. But if I understand your question correctly, is it them offering you something that would make you
cross the boundary?
Yeah. There is nothing that anybody could possibly give to me or offer me, because my energy is not on the table. It's not on the table.
What also comes up is what comes along with that, right? Okay, so you meet James Van Praag. Is that his right name?
Yeah,
he's the medium.
You can go with Jason Statham too.
Whatever. I mean, whoever would
you want to talk about,
Well, or if somebody said, well, if you do this work for me, I can get you tickets to, say, I don't know, Kevin Hart.
Sure.
Yeah, if that tickles your fancy.
Yeah.
Because okay, the problem with that is I feel like the gift is never is
Never, it doesn't come with it always comes with attachments,
yes,
conditions,
totally.
and you know it at the time. You know it at the time,
And you know
and you're
you'll
like, I
regret
still
it.
want it. I still want it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've had a client who was like, I will continue working with you
Oh, yeah.
if you do ABC.
Oh no.
And it's someone we
No.
know. And I was like,
Oh,
it's a hard no.
was it Rachel?
Voldemort. It was Voldemort.
Not sending you any more feed pics, Rachel. No.
Pay her money. It's a fantastic transaction then.
But
But,
that,
you know,
but do you know what? Do you know what? Do you know what? Do you know what? That is so crazy to me because really what they're saying is I can give you a continuous stream of demons. I will
Right.
set you up
you
for
do
life
have a
with a
continuous stream of them.
stream of demons.
Yes.
For you to work solely with me. I want you to be my traveling makeup artist. I want you to travel with me
Right.
and through life and clear up all my demon issues. So that's what they're saying.
True.
You have people like that because that's basically what they're saying. But
Right.
in order for you to do that, you have to work exclusively for me
Right.
and sever
Right.
all contact with everybody else.
Yeah.
Right.
They're buying
Yeah.
you.
Right.
Get lost.
Yeah.
And
Get
that
lost.
comes
You
hand
don't
in hand
own.
with this. So I'm gonna be bold and say this. If you need to come see me for a demon removal, you're either starting out or you might be vibing in a lower vibe temporarily while you go demon. There's definitely a different energy as opposed to seeing Amanda, right? As opposed to seeing Lauren. This is coming in at lower energy stuff, and there is a lot of different levels of lower energy with dealing with this. So maybe this is a good eye-opener to realize that is the energy that I am attracting by doing this work. So it's very different than a lot of other people. And it is, I look back and it's funny because I think this is very healing and cathartic for me because, doing this work, I have been told you have such a gift. And why are you charging? Because you've been bestowed this gift. Why you are meant to give
I
it
feel like that is religious stuff. Like, is that Bible?
Right.
What is that? Like,
I don't know what that is,
anyway,
but
keep going.
Yeah. So, and then it's the threatening of I will continue to work with you if you do A, B, C, and D. I didn't like what you said to me, so I want a refund. Right. And so I've been doing this for like decades, right? So I have had a lot of different experiences. I have gotten a lot better with noticing the energy right away, but my Achilles heel is I think the ego as to something's fucking with her and I don't let things fuck with me in a demonic sense. So anyway, that's a good eye opener for me. So everyone gets to witness Kylie having a little mini healing session here with boundaries. But it is so important. It is so important because people have this conception of practitioners coming in drinking matcha in the morning and doing yoga. And Lauren knows nothing shits me more than those Instagram people who have these pretty freaking pictures in Bali with their flowy dresses. And to me, I'm like, that's not authentic to me. I'm like, authentic is I got to pay bills, like I've got like curlers in my hair and, I've got my third coffee of the day and I'm like, I've got to do life. I've got to live a 3D experience. Right. And to switch into demon slayer mode takes me out for days if it's a particular one. And it is hard. It is hard work. And people think that they're right because they've suffered to have access to someone that can remove it.
And this is energy work. This is energy work. Everything that you are is on the line. Yeah. You are not just this. Many of us, we have a life outside of this. We have family. Right. We have other people. And so like for me, I got to a point whereby I had to start taking a week off every certain amount of weeks because I was suffering burnout.
Yeah.
And it was really,
real.
really it was very real. And I couldn't accept. And that's why it took me a long time to accept that this is burnout. You're suffering burnout. Do you know what I mean? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, all I do is I sit in front of a laptop and I just do kind of like what I love. So why would I be suffering burnout? Who am I to be suffering burnout? But I hadn't actually computed for my own self what my work actually is. I hadn't done that. And so I was getting to a point whereby I would have been of no use to anybody, to anybody. Now, if somebody was to come to me and say to me, and they really needed help in whatever I do, in order to clear whatever I do, or even to activate a light body work, and their thing is, well, why are you charging? One, you don't have to come to me. Don't come to me with a damn question that has nothing to do with what you've actually come to me for, or the spirituality. Go have that conversation with somebody else. Three, this is my work. This is what I do. Who told you that I wouldn't charge? And if I didn't, because this is what I do, then I would be working another job and my waiting list for this work would be a year long. So you know what? Sit down there and wait till 2026. I'll get to you in 2026 because I'm serving, you know what I mean? I'm serving your whatever, or your, I do think it's a stupid question. I don't think
It's
anybody has a
so
right to
I
ask
feel
absurd.
like
any of it.
a
It's
very old imprint.
It's a
That's
very,
what it
very
feels like to
old,
me.
it's like
old
saying to an
imprint.
artist, you've got artistic skill, God-given artistic skill, you should give
Skills.
your work away.
You should give it
Right.
Yeah.
away.
Right.
But there are people out
Nobody
there
says
that
that to
will think
artists.
like that. No, but there are people out there that will. There are dumb people that will want to
Or
come and have. But I
doctors.
think sometimes those people are there to sort of spike you. I think, listen,
Yeah.
if I was at a gathering and somebody said that to me or something, I'd just calmly move away.
Right. Right.
I'd just remove myself from the situation.
Right.
I know, or do you know what I mean? Or I just say to them, go and stand over there in that corner and just have a think about what you just said to me. That don't make no sense. Just
You
sit
know,
down in
I
the
can imagine
corner.
that happening.
Samantha run classes on how to set boundaries because I'm
Yes,
gonna sign up
coming
for that.
soon.
Yes.
Okay, one
Oh
of
my goodness.
my first spiritual teacher, she's an excellent clairvoyant, and she would always say to us how she would hesitate replying yes to going to family parties or parties of her friends because their family members would be there, because she goes, the people who know what I do, they think that, oh,
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
on. She's going to
yeah.
do the work and connect to spirit. And she's like, I'm not working. I'm off the clock. And so she goes, it prevents me. She's got boundaries like a mother. Okay. Like a mother. And she'd be like, I turn down many events because I know what they expect me to do. And unless you're paying me for my time, I am off the clock. And I respected her so much for that because she is so solid in them. You can't shake her. But the thing is, most of us, we have boundaries like a mother with our family, our loved ones. Well, why is it when it comes to people we've never met, we have trouble setting boundaries? Why?
Because we feel what we're going to say is harsh. They don't know us as yet to know that, do you know what, it's not right what you're doing. I remember I went to a party once, my best friend at a party, and her sister is psychic. We're both, you know what I mean, psychics, good psychics. But she kept warning us about there was somebody that was coming to the party who's going to come for a reading. And you know what? The two of us spent that party moving around the room so that we could get away from her. We were just like, every time she came, it was like, oh man, oh, we were going like we were here, we were there, just so that rather than any of us just saying, listen, it's not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? You've got my number, call me. Call me and set it up if that's what you want. But but there are times whereby I will do that in impromptu for friends. I will do that.
Right.
And I don't feel any way about it. I don't get off the phone and think, oh God, I still really think like that. I really, really don't. Because I think that I've 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 allowed for that information to come through. So
It depends
and
where
I'm
it's coming from. Like your actions, it depends
yeah,
where they're coming from. So there are
yeah,
times where I've had someone book in for a 15-minute discovery call, and I've spoken
yeah,
to them for 45 minutes and I've
yeah,
directed them into different places and they don't end up being my client. But I'm okay with like that actually fills my cup.
Same.
But
yeah,
that is not something I should do or is expected to do. I'm
yeah,
following the flow of my energy. So I guess
yeah,
there is a good question about where is it coming from? Because sometimes we do, like I have had a client who has been going through a difficult situation who perhaps doesn't have as much financial stability as other people may have. So I did reduce their rates for as long as they need to get through the situation they're in, because I genuinely would like to help them, but it's not exhausting me. So this is the thing. It doesn't feel like an uneven exchange, because for me, it's boosting my energy in a way that feels good, but I don't have to do it. I choose to do it.
correct.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the difference, I think. And that's a huge difference. Do you know what I mean? But I think also, well, there's no, but I think I was just going to add to what you were saying that, you know, um, I guess boundaries also comes down to your protection, about how you set up your space and your protection. Um, the information that you get from your team. Listening to that information. Because I'm that kind of person, probably. I'm like, I am in a way like you, Kylie. If I get told that, well, maybe you should leave that one alone. It's like, don't tell me what to do. Because and don't and or you know what I mean? Or if that thing comes into my space, I'm like, don't play with me. Don't
Oh
play
yeah.
with me. You
Mm-mm.
know? And then you might go do that work. You come away from that feeling like a drunken soldier, and you're thinking, "What the hell has just hit me?" I think, but
Well,
your team told you.
I've called Lauren after like really getting rid of a really hardy demon. And I'm like, fuck you. And she's like, well,
Yeah.
this is your jam. And I'm like,
Yes.
fuck you, it's my jam.
It's like she's just, getting ready to go out for a massive night or something. She's so pumped. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
No, and
That's
I
amazing.
honestly I love what I do. It's so rewarding. And it's just like, I know, like, I cannot
But you say
describe to
that.
you. What was that?
But Kylie, you say that, but I have come out of sessions when I was going through burnout. I've come out of my sessions thinking, yeah, that was wow, fantastic. And then I'd crawl my way to my bed and I'd lie down there. My next session's in an hour. And then I'd get up, I'd perk
Right.
up, and I'd come down and I'm on. But then in the in-betweens, my energy was zapped. I was zapped. Do you know what I mean? And I think that was also about me, because I had begun a particular kind of work as well. And I think that particular work as well, I was running it through my body, because I'm working with you, I'm journeying with you. And that was, I think, was what was taking me out. I think it's affected
Yep.
I think it's affected a part of my body that I've never been able to get back.
And that's me
To
too.
get
I
back,
know
because I've been using
it
it
is
as a
such a
monitor.
sacrifice, because I have
It is.
autoimmune. I know that it's from the
Right.
energy. I
Yeah.
absolutely know it. And I can't do more than one client a day now. Like, I just can't.
Oh,
That, like, it's gone to that, because those journeys and demon removal will take me out. And I want to be running at my 90% for each client that comes in.
yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I I can't charge for that downtime. You know what I mean? So it's like,
No,
it's
no.
like, what's the value for me going to the freaking doctor and getting my stupid medicine, to do this? Like,
Yeah,
it's such
there's
a
no amount of money
sacrifice.
for that.
Yeah, it's such a
No.
sacrifice. But I love it though. Like, that's the thing, right?
Okay, so somebody said to me one time, he said, when you're looking to charge, Lauren, Rachel, you guys know. Okay. When you're looking to
I don't.
charge,
I don't.
yes, you do. Kylie, you don't, but just let me get it out. When you're setting your prices, you are to look for a few things. Number one, If you are, let's say you're going to say, I'm going to charge $500 an hour. I'm just throwing it out there. At the end of the session, if you feel like you got away with something, then you overcharged.
Like
If
it
you
was
feel
too easy.
right.
Yeah.
If you feel like you are drained, you undercharge. But if it feels like a good energetic exchange, then it's the right price for you. And so it's about feeling it in your gut and your body. How does it feel when I'm done with the sessions? It's very clear for you. And I've told you this. It's time to level up.
I know. I can't do it anymore. And I've put my foot down. Last week was you can tell me, Lauren's told me for years. I know, I listen, but I wasn't ready to integrate. But now I'm at that point now where I'm like, you know what? It's time.
Okay. So you're going to let us know how it feels in your gut when you figure it out.
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting? Like you just said that. So I've got an example of that. I um I have adapted my Lightbody to, so I have put in like other like sessions into the Lightbody that I feel is part of the Lightbody process. But when I first started doing it, the it's never been in a Lightbody process, but once doing the training, me with kind of like a few other practitioners, we kind of like thought, well, this is a Lightbody process and this really needs to be part of Lightbody. Do you know what I mean? So the actual person who trained us herself, she was charging a lesser price than what I charge now. And so I was doing it at that price, or even less than what it was originally, because you're in that space of, oh, well, you know, it's new, I'm just doing it, it's new, stuff like that. This was the thing that actually took my energy. This was the thing that's actually affected the part of my energetic system. And it took me 18 months before I got to a point whereby I accepted, you know what? I don't know why I am, in a sense, giving this away, because I'm giving it away. And this is a massive process. It's the same amount of energy that goes into it, like all my other Lightbody sessions. Why am I doing it at a lesser price? When for the most part, I think it takes the most from me. It absolutely takes the most from me. And that's when I decided that I had to raise it. And I did. And I just had to go through that uncomfortable space of it feels a bit, am I doing, is this the right thing for me to do? But all that kept coming back to me. At the time, I hadn't even connected it to what was happening to me. But all I knew is that this is a Lightbody process. So what am I doing? I need to get over the fact that and charge accordingly, you know, especially when I had some clients who were, sometimes they were 3 hours in process. 3 hours in process, you know, literally in process.
Crazy.
Not you, Yana. I don't know why you got your face like
I was
that.
going to say, that's you two talking.
So
No.
Amanda, when we had our extended 2-hour conversations, you loved that, right?
I did. Oh no, those are very different. And I have that with clients. I do have that. And no, and that's very, very different. And of course, if I'm, you know, clients will ask questions, and if I'm talking a lot and stuff like that, then you kind of feel a way about saying, well, you know what, like, you know, that's your session, pay up and fess up, and you get your next one. I feel a bit funny about that.
Me
If you
too.
want to
Right.
give me something, then like I'm okay. But I don't. I feel funny, and I sometimes feel, in terms of my work, that's part and parcel of it, and I'm okay with that. I really am okay with that. I don't feel any boundaries have been crossed or I've been taken advantage of, because I know that I'm in a space and place where people are hungry for information.
Yeah.
And hungry to find somebody that they can have that conversation with without feeling like I'm crazy or I'm mad, or you're going to think I'm crazy, or you're going to think I'm mad. Do you know what I mean? So that's different. I'm good. But that's 9 times out of 10, you're working with somebody for a while. You've been working with them. Do you know what I mean? And that's okay. We had great conversations. But then again, when we got started on working, I had totally didn't even realize that I had already done the session.
That's right. Going back to I'm sorry, Rachel, going back to you pricing yourself more than the person who was training you. So when I first became a practitioner, I had a girlfriend and she was like a Reiki healer, Reiki master, all of that. And for years, I'd go to her and I'd be like, why do you charge so little for what you do? You practice beforehand, you do your 1 hour session, you're clearing everything afterwards, you feel drained. You can't stand when people book with you because it's just the energy was draining from her. You're not charging right. You gotta like up your charges. Anyway, so fast forward to me becoming a sole contract practitioner. And where I priced myself, it was beginning entry level because I knew obviously it was going to take me a minute to get to, for example, where I am today. And my rates were the same rate, was actually a little bit higher than what she was charging. And she was a Reiki practitioner for like 15 years. And she saw it. And she goes, how much time do you put into your sessions? And in the beginning, I would do like an hour of prep work, right? Just to make sure like I had all my information. So I'm like, about 2 hours. She goes, and I think back then it was like $125, something like that. She goes, okay, so that's like 60 something dollars an hour. Okay. And I realized in that moment, what she was doing was she was comparing what my hourly rate was to hers because she had an issue with, well, I've been doing this for so many years. Why should you get there so quickly? You should also have to pay your dues and be lower for so long. And now I look at my rates and I'm like, girlfriend, if you were to even see that right now, you probably have steam coming out of your mouth. And I don't have to do prep work. The information is right here.
It's right there.
But it's not about, I've been doing this for 10 years, so now I can charge X amount. It's about what you have to offer. I have yet to have somebody, except in the beginning, I had one person and she was not resonating at all with her chart. And I wanted to crawl back in my skin and like die because I was like, this woman, I'll never forget her. I'm like, this woman paid me for something and I don't feel like she got what she was expecting. But aside from that woman, I've never had anybody who goes, you charged me this amount of money and I didn't get more than what I expected. Never had anybody say that to me.
Yeah.
Never. So you have
that.
to charge what feels right for you, what is fair for what you're giving, and that exchange has to be correct. So I always think of her and I'm just like, she's probably so mad. I don't know. I mean.
Hey, and look, I'm not into overcharging at all. But we all know from our own experience that often it's a basic thing to value something that has cost more money. Do you know what I mean? That's why brands like Gucci exist. Do you know what I mean? Because they are expensive and that's actually part of their value. So there's also, it doesn't help you to undercharge to represent, the impact that it is.
Yeah.
Also, just one other thing. I did have an ex-boyfriend 200 years ago and he was a doctor and all of his friends were doctors and one of them was on the Gold Coast and worked at a private hospital and he was explaining to me at the time that they did their rates, their after-hour rates at exactly what it would cost to get a television repair person to come to your house at that time. And so, it's interesting if you guys go and have a look at what other professionals charge and what a plumber actually charges to do what they do, and then see where you fit in with that kind of thing. It might make you feel much more comfortable about hourly rates when you find out that plumbers charge $210.
Right.
I've often said to Lauren, who I believe all of you have very reasonable rates, but I quite happily paid $290 to a psychologist for 50 minutes, and probably didn't get the same outcome that I had with Lauren, and very similar sort of process. And I appreciate that there's other things that are attached with psychologists and degrees and insurance, well, kind of that kind of thing. But yes, I don't know why you guys don't scope yourselves on other professions as well. You know,
Yeah, I hadn't
freaking
thought
lawyers are
about that.
600. Well, you know,
Yeah, I hadn't
when
thought
you talk
about that.
about lawyers, I mean, like I've just gone through a process of using lawyers. And, you know, I can't remember what I think like junior lawyers are $350 an hour and senior lawyers are $700 an hour, that kind of thing. So,
They're
yeah, it
also
makes
about
it pricey.
$40 an email. So don't respond back. Thank you.
Dude,
They'll count
mine
that.
look like they're about $120 an email, just by the way. And I think it's like $200 a phone call is what it looks like. But you know, but yeah.
Hmm.
But I had to for years, and I don't even know, like my sister, when she was here in this country, I used to say to her every time, Phil, your prices are they're just too low. They're just too
Mm.
low. You know, I said, if you think about it, back then, we was talking about, an average psychic reading is £60. Why are you charging £40? That was back then. And I'm talking about a few years before she's doing it. I said, for you now to get a reading, whether it's online or wherever it is, you are looking at about, you know, I would have said about, I don't know, £80 for, I don't know, but yeah, prices were just, and I just thought, um, no, I said, it's too low. It's too low.
Because that's the thing with energy work, it is so much more than just the time that is spent in that session, right? And I really
Yes.
started to appreciate that when I started sort of mediumship development, because I you guys know I love psychics and mediums, and I always valued them, but after I started my development, I went, wow, it is everything in your day. It is your sleep. It is the food you eat. It is, being able to navigate your emotional fields, your energetic fields, all the things. So it's almost so much, you have to be in an energetic state that allows you to do that work. Whereas, doing some more, say, let's call them 3D jobs, where it's like you're following this procedure, it's X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. It's a completely different ball game, and I think about that with doctors, to be honest. I think, gosh, imagine if you just were having an off day and you weren't feeling great and like, not that you were sick or anything, but you weren't on your game. Do you know what I mean? It's their whole life really is feeding into that energetic landscape of then how they can deliver that session. It's so much more than just that hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a whole lifestyle to maintain. Like I can't come in and go from one client remove, a demon and then go to the next client and not do my spiritual hygiene. What the hell am I then exposing that person to?
Correct.
And there's time after that I have to deal with, right? And I got to clear my space and I got to have water and I got to do the lemon with the water because I was told to do that, and it's
but
you have no idea. You have no idea.
I changed my divine healing prices just recently, and I changed it because I think I was I may even change them again. It's a new year. Lost a living crisis. But but I changed it because I went and looked at another practitioner's prices, and they had, you're talking about like experience. They had really probably just qualified within the last year. And I thought, what the hell? I thought, I've been at this 12 years. I thought, what am I doing? And so I thought, well, I need to up this because I'd had it like that for years. And so it's things that we guilt ourselves about.
Yeah.
We guilt ourselves about this. And meanwhile, the world is moving, everything's going on, and we're just saying, well, no, it's like, so even though, we might get affronted at people saying to us, oh, why are you charging? We're also carrying in within us that part of that stuff that says, well, I won't raise the prices. I've been doing this for 20 years and we feel quite good at saying to people, these have been my prices for the last 20 years. What's good about that?
As I say to Lauren when we've had these conversations, nobody's spending their electricity money going to you guys. Do you know what I mean? Like in a lot of ways with people with addictions, you might be doing them a favor restricting how much money they have to spend on alcohol by actually coming to get treatments from you. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
You
like
write that as a
people have
testimonial for my
people have
website.
disposable. This is what I
Please.
mean. People have disposable incomes. You know, I think spending it on you guys is a good, wholesome, nourishing, supportive thing. If they're not spending it on you, they're spending it on drugs, alcohol, shopping, shit they don't need, cars they don't need to upgrade.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, the money goes somewhere. It may as well go to you when you're providing real value.
You know, I had my good friend in Australia recently come to me. She lives a very 3D experience, and I've told Lauren this. She's come to me and is like, who would pay for that when people can't live right now? Who would pay for you? And I'm like, bitch, I'm booked. I'm booked. So someone has to, you know, someone wants it, right? And then meanwhile, I'm at, like, you know, these psychic fairs or whatever. And I was in one in LA, like, I don't know, 1,200 years ago. and in walks this most fabulous person, right? Like, I'm talking, like, you know, guy heels with Louis Vuitton. Like, this guy was like beyond fabulous. He sat down on his thing. He had a security guard with him. He charged $1,000 an hour to do a reading. And I remember going up to him and just being in awe, because I'm like, this guy is like $50,000 worth of gear on him. And I'm like, I'm sorry, how much do you? 1,000. I'm like, and you're booked. He's like, for months. And I'm like, you know what? Bravo for knowing your value
good
and
on you.
attracting that. I could never, and that's my
yes, you
issue.
could.
But that's fabulous that you can do that. But that is just the definition of knowing your worth and attracting that vibration, right? And I need to know the secret sauce to that.
Look, I'll remind you that a packet of fags which are cigarettes, just by the way.
Yeah, you're gonna
translation.
Sausages.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for translating for the US people.
Yeah, sorry.
But
I
this whole
was-
YouTube channel's gonna get banned.
I'm pretty sure I don't smoke, but I'm pretty sure they're like $70 or $80 a packet now over in Australia. So
I was
if you
absolutely
smoke,
shocked to see.
well, if you smoke 5 packets of cigarettes a week, then that is, you know,
A lot of money.
A week. I know people who go through 2 packs a day.
Well, this is what I mean. And then you guys are screaming
Well, I
about
think they're like
charging money for your
£20 a-
services.
No.
You know,
Yeah, that's
So-
different.
Dana's
yeah.
like, never,
But
I would never. But
No,
yeah.
But I,
listen, no. I'll tell you this. Hold on. In the beginning, I was at 125. And I remember somebody who also started at the same time as me. We were talking about something. And she's like, oh, I charge like 2 something. And I thought to myself, okay, good for her. But I don't feel comfortable yet
Yeah.
to
that was it
charge
for
that.
me. Mm.
When I did feel comfortable, I absolutely went in and I was like, this number feels good. How did it feel? Good. And I remember at first you have this scarcity mindset. Well, now you're more expensive. So who's going to pay for you? And then I immediately went into the people who are going to resonate with me. They're going to find me and they're going to sign up. Don't worry about it. It's going to happen. And it has been a true blessing, because for me, when I sold when I was done with my daycare business, it was very much, I want to do something where I'm still with my daughter all the time. When she comes home from school, I get to be with my daughter. So I charge rates, and I have enough slots per week that I know if I work during the day when she is at school, and when she comes home, I get to spend the rest of the day with her. I am good. I am so good. And so I feel very blessed to be privileged in that sense to be able to do that. And guess what? No one's ever complained about my prices, number one. And number two, I have repeat clients who, they come for different stuff. And lately I got a few who are like, why do you charge so little? And I was like, oh, that was so nice to hear.
Yeah.
I can't make a move yet because I haven't mentally reached that point. But he's just like, I come here and I feel like I'm getting way more than what I'm giving you. And it's beautiful to hear. And when that moment comes, I'll make that jump. But absolutely, what works for me is what I'm going to put out there, because I know my clients are going to be waiting for me, because I'm matching that frequency. That's it. And that's my boundary.
Yeah. I reckon you guys have got to worry less about your cost and focus more about your value.
Oh, yeah. I don't think any. Yeah.
So, yeah, you're all
Okay.
very, very high value chicks.
All right. Listen, Lauren, you got anything
Thank
for us
you.
for boundaries?
Well,
Tone-wise.
so it's not specifically about boundaries, but it is about what I was talking about earlier, into tuning into how you're feeling and what it's telling you about, okay, so it's called the contrast. The contrast, the dark and the light, the wax and wane of the moon, the expansion and contraction of life, the peaks and troughs, highs and lows, yin and yang. Each one exists because of the other. The contrast provides the opportunity for the light to shine through the darkness and be realized. It is the low points that give birth to the possibility of those higher ones. Because as soon as we hit a low point, we are made to be aware that we do not want to feel it, live it, or be it. We want the higher harmonics running through our experience. That is what we desire. This can then drive us in the direction of what we really want, because quite simply, we do not want to feel bad anymore. Joy and freedom are our birthrights. So next time you are on a low, remember this and say to yourself, thank you for the opportunity to see the contrast so that I can know with absolute clarity what I want in my life. Then make the choices and mindfully act towards riding the highest wave of your life, until the next contrast provides more opportunity for you to go even higher. I feel grateful for the opportunities of contrast, and I hope that you do too.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lauren.
Beautiful.
You're welcome.
And Kylie, what you got for us, girlfriend?
Well, I didn't know you were going to talk about waxing and waning, but I picked
Oh.
energy.
Hmm.
Okay. So it was, don't let pride get in your way.
Wow.
Do I need to explain? I don't.
Yes.
Yes. For our listeners, I'm watching.
Oh no. Okay, hold on, because I don't have anything. I'm gonna have to tap into something here. The pride is to do with being likable and that sense of belonging and belonging to someone's journey. There is we have this expectation of helping, and it's important to separate the pride of, it's like that, like the illusion, right? We think that we're helping them by giving ourselves, but in actual fact we are taking from ourselves and trying to fill an empty ego cup.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Lauren, translate.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I was having I was biting my lip because I'm like, this is Kylie's time to talk, Lauren, shut up. But
No,
I was when you pull that card to me, it was like, the ego is full of shoulds. I should want to do this.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Should anything with a should. No. So I would say, notice your energy and follow the flow of that. If you are acting within alignment with your energy, then it's almost as if those boundaries appear out of nothing. You don't even have to create them. So it's when we're in resistance and maybe we're swimming in a different direction that is not the truth of our soul, that we need those boundaries to protect us more so.
Yeah.
mic drop.
Wait.
Well, now if you're listening to this, I'm probably going to take my website down to increase my prices, so you won't be able to book in for a little bit. But anyway, yeah.
Yes, and I just got to say, I just have this, I feel like at some point Rachel's going to put together a pricing workshop
Totally.
Oh,
sign me up.
nice.
Listen,
Yes.
Nice.
two things. First of all, on yoursoulwisdomshow.com, you have full access to Rachel. Okay. Rachel is excellent at helping you price. Rachel is also excellent at helping you say the thing to the other person that you need to say that allows you to stand firm in your boundaries. So when you, Kylie, were talking about your two daughters, I was going to say, send them to Rachel. Rachel will know exactly what to
Auntie
say.
Rachel's going to get in there and referee that.
It's quick. It's straight to the point. It protects your boundaries. It's kind. And there's no
And it's
room
high
for
frequency.
interpretation. Absolutely.
It's high frequency stuff.
Yep.
Do you know what
So
I mean?
Thanks, ladies.
So if you have questions on how to handle anything, go ahead and click on the button on yoursoulwisdomshow.com for Rachel. Send in what's going on, and she'll have the most perfect response.
And
it's
can
my
I just
fantasy.
say,
Love
This is
that.
Be
absolutely my
prepared.
fantasy.
be prepared for them to be read online. They can be anonymous because then it will so that Rachel can answer them online, because then it will help even more people. It will be anonymous, don't worry.
Okay.
But I'm just making stuff up here. No one knows. Lauren has decided
Please ask me questions. Now I'm like,
we're gonna have a Rachel is gonna answer questions episode.
Rachel will. What's it? Yeah, we'll have it. Yeah, isn't it?
Yep.
that makes me want something
Rachel
more than
will
I
answer
want
them.
than I want to want it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I hope it turns out like that.
I love it. Okay, beautiful.
So can
Yes.
I just wanted to say, this has been a difficult but a necessary conversation.
Yeah.
So I hope our listeners get as much out of it as I guess we needed to have that conversation.
Yeah, that was very much for me, and I thank you for all coming
Well, I
along
think
with
for all
that
of
journey
us.
of talking it out.
Yeah, I feel like all of us really got something out of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thank you,
So-
Kylie, for sparking.
thank
Having a
you.
problem.
Thank you,
Well
Kylie.
done.
Yeah. We got those-
Anytime, I got plenty more.
I love it. Okay,
nice
now
one.
this officially concludes our episode, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. If you're interested in booking a reading, a healing, a guided meditation session, a light body activation, or simply just want to say hello, or have a question for Rachel, head on over to yoursoulwisdomshow.com. We thank you for allowing us to create this beautiful space, and we hope you have a beautiful, blessed day. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.